Hey traders, TG Watkins here, and it is April 7th. Gonna be recording this. You guys will see it on Friday. Anyway, if anybody is new to me and wants more information, you can come over here to profitpilot.com. That's where you can check out more about my trading room, the classes, and any of the other services that I put out, education, anything else like that. We also have the newsletters here that you can check out, and we're starting to switch over to video newsletters, so that might be a little bit more interesting and entertaining if you so choose. Now, let's get into the market because what's going on is we've seen a little bit of a bounce today, and I'm not so sure how much I trust it. So, I'm going to show you a couple examples of some bullish things and some bearish things. And right now, I mean, the market's in the middle, so we're going to have to give it a little bit of time to figure out where this thing wants to go. So, first things first, the easier stuff that we could determine was right in through here on the daily chart when we got price up over the daily 50, but you can see that the Moxie indicator is still below zero. That's what I call an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. And so that was telling me that there's going to be a pullback at some point. And typically, I see that pullback to the 50, whatever time frame we're talking about. And this got pretty darn close, so that's why I'm leaving the door open a little bit, as I think that there could actually be a test of the daily 50 at some point. The other reason I'm leaving this open is, well, we're just not confirmed to the upside yet. Yes, we've gotten over the 15-minute 50, but notice that the Moxie indicators are not very strong. They don't agree with each other. They're spread from each other. One is still below zero, one's above zero. It kind of looks like this. You can see again, price was over the 15-minute 50, but the Moxie indicators were spread. One was above zero, one was below zero, so it was mixed. The other thing that I look for is confirmation of moving average support. I want to see price actually hold the 15-minute 50. So we haven't done that yet. We've only gotten over the 15-minute 50. And you can see the last time we got over the 15-minute 50, then it pulled back to the 50. It fell right through it. Now, the other thing I'm looking at is here on the hourly chart. And it's still technically bearish because you do still have the 8 below the 21. So it hasn't done enough work to switch those moving averages from the fast over the slow. The other thing is I'm noticing that the hourly 50 is in a downtrend now. So we could just see price bounce up into resistance and then move on over like that. Same thing with the 15-minute 200. So these things are starting to roll over as if they could be resistance. Now, let me just go off and show you a couple scenarios. This is the TIP. This is inflation adjusted bonds, something like that. But I just liked it as far as its pattern because if you look here at the 15-minute and there we go, we're kind of getting through there, the 15-minute and the hourly, what you can see is right here, you see how price bounced up into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. Possible that the S&P does that too. And you even see again, bounces up into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. The S&P could do that too. And you can see it just does that as it stair steps its way down and lower. Now, it may not look too dramatic in through here, but basically from here to here, here to here, that's a big move, especially if that's going to be something like the S&P. That is a big move. And you can see that in this situation, it went below the previous low, which if the S&P does that, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And so that's kind of the concern that I'm seeing is that it can go down that far. And you can see here that it broke down below the daily 50. So what if the S&P does that too? So that's kind of the bearish scenario. And you can see here it was priced basically running into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 200. And you can see each time it got to the 15-minute 50, it could not hold that moving average. So just keep that in mind for the S&P, for the NASDAQ, if they are going to move in such a way. Then another one we look at solo. And again, not that I'm looking at this particular stock for any reason. I just want to show you patterns that I'm seeing that give us a roadmap to something moving in the downward position. You can see here, price got up over the 50 and then it rolled back down into the 50. That's typical of something I see. And then you can see here that price basically flagged sideways into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. And on the 15-minute time frame, that was price getting over the 15-minute 50, basically getting resistance at the 15-minute 200, and then failing below the 15-minute 50. And again, look at the Moxie indicators. They look kind of like the S&P does right now. So this is another thing that we could be seeing, that today, Thursday's bounce on the S&P could be up into resistance, and we could see the market continue to roll down lower. It's possible. So I just want to make sure you guys see that out there. Now, here's kind of the third scenario if it finds strength. Here's PFE, Pfizer. So what I see with this one is that you get that typical, here's price moving up over the daily 50. Notice the Moxie indicator is below zero. And so we see price come back down and pull back into the 50, which is basically what the S&P is doing. The NASDAQ definitely did that. And it's pulling back into the hourly 200. Now, what you can see is initially there was resistance right there at the hourly 50. You can see it was the same thing, resistance at the 15-minute 200. But then, just like I said in the first part of this video, the S&P is over the 15-minute 50, but it hasn't tested the 15-minute 50. Well, look at PFE and look right there. You can see how price pulled back into the 15-minute 50. Notice that the Moxie indicators are now both over zero. They're both tight. They look like one line. That means they agree with each other. And you can see that price then shot up and continued along that line above that moving average. And you can see there was a clear shot up like that, and that was stemmed from price holding the daily 50. So this would be the bullish scenario if we start seeing the S&P start to pick up like that. So hopefully you guys can understand why I'm kind of picking out both of these situations and what I'm looking for. Now, if we go over to the NASDAQ and we look at this, another one of my typical patterns, again, you see price cross over the 50, run into some resistance with that moving average, and then you pull back down to the 50. I see that all the time. And then on the hourly chart, you can see price pulled back to the hourly 200, just like PFE. And then for now, we are getting over the 15-minute 50, but there's nothing conclusive yet. We haven't tested it. The Moxie indicator is still weird, funky, weak, below zero. So if this is going to be bullish, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done in order to make that happen. And, what if this move up just goes into resistance and then it actually goes back down? So we're in the middle of a trend, or in the middle of a range right now. We do not have a defined, clear direction of where things are going to. Hopefully, I've shown you that price can go up or it can go down, and we're going to have to use the lower time frames to really help us figure out where that's going to go. Now, one other thing we can kind of look at, say the UVXY. This is something I've been cluing in on for a while. And if we look here, you can see what I call the elf shoe. And you can see that there's the leg, there's the heel, there's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, there's the elf toe. Now, we're basically halfway through that pattern right now. Here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, and we're working on the ball of the foot. And if the ball of the foot holds, and it depends on the depth, we don't know where it's going to hold yet. But if the ball of the foot holds and we get a move up, then that means the UVXY is going to go up, and that means down for the market. So I like to watch the UVXY and I like to watch the S&P and the indexes to try and help me figure out which one is going to be clearer as far as communicating which direction it wants to go. Because sometimes the S&P can be very messy and sloppy, but the UVXY is setting up, and that's something to really pay attention to. So it'll give me a different story and actually help clue me in on some stuff. I know the other thing I want to show are that there are a bunch of what I call inverse trampoline moves on usually the daily chart for what we've been seeing here. And this is what I'm cautioning about for people who think we're going to be bullish. So number one, we had that big move up on a lot of tickers and the indexes where price got over the daily 50. Don't be surprised that there's going to be a pullback. I always teach this, that there's most likely going to be a pullback to the 50. You cross over the 50, then you pull back to the 50, especially since the Moxie indicator is below zero. Now, as I said, just like PFE, this could eventually turn into a bullish situation, and we'll have to see how that might actually look. Otherwise, if this inverse trampoline move persists, then what this could be is another top, and we could actually see price start to roll over like this, just like we saw price get over the 50 there, but then roll over again. So we just don't have much clarity right now for wherever this thing is going. We could see that. We could see, here was another one that I was trading. We made some good money off of this one. Let me kind of zoom in. This was AutoNation. And you can see here, price was over the daily 50. The Moxie indicator was below zero. And look what it did. Lo and behold, boom, big move to the downside. So that's why I'm cautioning about the S&P, about Apple, about a lot of tickers out there that are doing inverse trampoline moves on the daily. they could end up being very bearish and continue breaking down below the daily 50. That's possible. And then another one, NVIDIA. If we look at NVIDIA, you can see the same basic situation there, whereas price got over the 50, but the Moxie indicator was below zero. And so same thing, expect to pull back to the 50, and there's no guarantee that the 50 is going to hold. It could actually continue going lower from there. I think a couple more that I was seeing, MDB, and we could see this on the daily chart. This one, at the time, was an inverse trampoline move. So you could see that for all of this move, price was over the 50, but the Moxie indicator was still below zero. So only now is the Moxie indicator starting to fire. That basically means it's late. And to be careful about that, because a late fire means that it's just not, the timing isn't there. And then this also looks a lot like the NASDAQ and Amazon, where you cross over the 50, you run into that resistance, and then you come back down to the 50. So I'm not so sure that this is over. This pullback is over, because same thing like we said about the S&P, that this could be a bounce back up into overhead resistance, and this could continue down like this. You can see here, the Moxie indicator just still isn't totally set. So again, could be a bounce before we actually go even lower. So do be careful about that and what you're seeing out there. WK, I mean, look, it looks just like the same pattern. You can see for all this price over the daily 50, at the time, the Moxie indicator was still below zero. Moxie indicator is still technically below zero right now, and you got to pull back to the 50. So you crossed over it, ran into resistance, and you came back down to it. Again, I'm not seeing too much life to the upside right now. The Moxie indicator is just all over the place on the 15-minute time frame, so it's just really not giving me too much information right there. So that's kind of what I've been seeing out there. Do be careful. Keep watching the UVXY. Well, right now I've got to kind of wrap it up because I got to go to an HOA meeting actually. So I'm going to keep this one a little bit short. I think that there's going to be a lot more action next week. We do have an option expiry coming up next week. So be ready for that and see if you can make some money selling calls, because that seems about the right direction to be going. All right, everyone. Thanks again.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.